Hey everyone, and welcome to the Anthrospin Hawaiian Language Revitalization Project. As some of you know, we started off pretty strong at the end of 2019. By the first couple months of 2020, I think some of us were starting to feel the effects of, learning a foreign language that you're not really immediately exposed to. We had to decide to go out and do this. It was sort of a daily commitment to do this. You didn't have people in your immediate proximity with which to speak Hawaiian. And so we were really starting to understand how tall of an order that was. And then COVID came around, and I think all of us just sort of lost momentum. Well, it's starting up again, and I thought it made sense to hit the ground running and get this video out to you. So I want to thank everyone who's, putting their time and effort in to being a part of this project at whatever level you're in, whether or not you're interacting in the Facebook group, whether or not you're commenting on the videos, whether or not you're helping with blog entries or whatever. I don't even need to know you're involved. If you are consuming the materials of the Anthrospin Hawaiian Language Revitalization Project, you are officially part of it because you're helping to revitalize the Hawaiian language. And you're helping with language revitalization efforts in general, and that's what I'm seeking out to do. So thank you for being a part of it in whatever capacity you're playing your part. Anyway, so I also just wanted to take just a couple minutes to talk about what language revitalization is, what language endangerment is, and why these things are important. Languages are inseparable from their cultures. If you're monolingual, that might be a little less obvious to you, but if you're bilingual, if you're multilingual, if you spend any amount of time studying a second or third language, you know that as you get more involved with that language, you start seeing it everywhere. You start seeing it in street signs. You start seeing it at restaurants. You start seeing it in surnames. The names of celebrities or just people that you see in the newspaper all around, people you meet. You start seeing this culture pop up just in your life in general. I don't know if it's similar to when, you go pick out a car because no one has this car, and then you see it everywhere. Were they always there in the first place, or is it just a popular thing going on right now? I don't know. But when you start learning a new language, you start seeing traces of it everywhere. And for me, it's really kind of enhanced my learning of that language, and I start seeking out, the etymology of different terms. But languages are not immortal. They can and do go extinct. It could be from absorption, two cultures existing in close proximity to one another. The larger one just kind of starts assimilating the smaller one. It's kind of an organic process, no less tragic in hindsight, but it's not always a result of, violent acts. But it also could be the result of colonialism. A bigger, more militarily dominant culture shows up, and all of a sudden your language is illegal. These things can and do and have happened. In essence, languages are lost as a result of an overbearing cultural presence. With enough of these factors at play, within a single generation, a language can go from flourishing to critically endangered. One generation, they're fluently speaking their native language, and then a colonial presence shows up, and now they're speaking two languages. Their children tend to be raised without their native language. Maybe they retain some aspects of that native language, but their own kids may have no connection to it whatsoever. It happens very quickly. In the 21st century United States, these cultures do tend to have a space, but they're somewhat restricted to it. Indigenous cultural identities are considered something to be celebrated, but could you imagine a United States senator addressing the Senate in an indigenous language or any language that isn't English? You might not be offended or you might not be made uncomfortable by that, but it's definitely something that would be considered newsworthy. And so with this project, I wanted to pull a native language, and by extension its culture, sort of out of the box that it's sort of expected to remain in, and normalize its presence in places other than resorts and exotic movie sets and reservations and stuff like that, because that's where we expect to see those things. Because, as a non-native person, and as someone with a platform like what I have, it's not exactly out of the realm of my responsibility to try and give these voices a platform and to educate people like me about cultures who aren't like me. Because for these marginalized groups, it can get real tiring to sort of explain what they're all about to people who are just curious about them. They have other things to do than just fight tooth and nail for their right to exist in mainstream culture. And along the way of all of this, I want to sort of build into all the materials a roadmap on how to approach language revitalization efforts, generally speaking. I chose the Hawaiian language because while revitalization efforts are strong and there are materials available, it's still a very endangered language. And we, as a very small group, can actually make a difference in the preservation. All of the materials that we produce as a group, they're going to be compiled and made available both on the Anthrospin website as well as on the Language Revitalization Group Facebook page. It's always going to be available, and I hope you enjoy. I hope you can be a part. I hope you get something out of it. And if you have any questions, you can comment here. You can comment on the Facebook page, and I hope to see you there.